What are the types of service lifetimes of an object instance in an ASP.NET Core? Now, if you remember, we registered the services, the dependencies in the configure service method like this. Okay. Now here, by using this add singleton, add scoped or add transient method, you can set that lifespan of the object created for the science student class. Okay. Meaning when a request will come to your application, and first time when the dependency of this service is injected or created, then what will be the lifespan of that object student? Whether this object will be shared with multiple requests, or is it used for this request only, one request only, or it will live till the request is alive. So that will be decided which type of service lifetime you choose here, add singleton, add scoped or transient. Okay. So the simple definition of service lifetime is the service lifetime refers to the lifespan of the registered service or object you have created through this service. Okay. Or you can say the service lifetime controls how long a result object will live for after it has been created by the container. Okay. And we have three types of service lifetime: singleton, scoped instance and transient instance. In the upcoming question, I will explain all of the three with examples. What is add singleton, add scoped and add transient method? Very important question this is. Let's try to understand add singleton first. And if you know singleton design pattern, then it's be easy for you. Okay. The definition is add singleton method create only one instance when the service is requested for first time, and then the same instance will be shared by all different HTTP requests. Okay. Remember singleton pattern, that is almost same. Here in the diagram, you can also see only one instance is used throughout the application lifetime, right? Now let's see when we need this singleton practically in real applications. Suppose you create an application and you want to log all the application exceptions or informations in a text file. Now what you will do? Once a request will arrive, you will write the code that if any exception occur, then open the text file and write the exception, right? For all other requests also, you will not open the text file again. Rather, you will use the same open text file and add and update the new errors in the same log file from the different request. In these kinds of cases, you will use add singleton. Why? Because multiple requests have to use this same log file, right? Like here we are registering the logger service here, then we are not creating the same class instance for different requests. Okay, same object instance will be shared between multiple requests for this. Now the next one is add scoped. Add scoped method creates single instance but per request. For every individual request, there will be a single instance or object. See the diagram here, one object, one instance per request here. Okay. The real application use is, suppose there is a payment service in your application and you do not want that this payment instance of a particular request of a particular user will be shared with any other request, any other user request, right? That is payment, because different requests should have different object or instance. Payment information must not be shared. For this, you will register the payment service with the help of add scoped method like this. It will make sure the payment object or instance will only be available in the same request and will not be shared. Add scoped is the most used method also. So if you are confused which one to use in your application, then go for add scoped. The last one is add transient. Add transient instance will not be shared at all, even within the same request. Every time a new instance will be created. Now see the diagram. For same request, multiple instances of the same services are created at different points. The real application use, suppose your application gets data from multiple databases like this tenant A, B, C. Now you have one connection object in your request, right? One connection object you will create. Then you need to change the database connection string of the same object in the same request for different databases A, B, C to connect with, right? For that, you have to kill the first database instance and then create the new instance to map the new database. So why you will do that? So at that time you will use add transient method, because you can, in this you cannot use the same database instance with the same request. Every time you need to connect with another database, you have to create the new object of the data access. New object is required inside the same request, right? Here is the code to register the data access service with the help of add transient method in your application like this. Great, I think now you know all the methods of service lifetimes and what are their real applications use, right? What is middleware in ASP.NET Core and what is custom middleware? Now if you see this configure method code, and here we are calling several components like is development, use static files, then use routing, then use authorization, and at last use endpoints. All these just are middlewares only, okay? So definition is a middleware is a component that is executed on every request in the ASP.NET Core application. So basically whenever any request will come, then it will pass through all these middlewares and then it will go to the controller as per the URL, right? All these middlewares will executed in the same sequence written here. Now these middlewares are provided by .NET Core framework, but you can also create your own custom middleware class and add them here inside like at the end of this sequence. So that is custom middleware. Now from .NET 6.0 configure method is not there anymore. So like this, the middleware components are added at the end of the main method of the program.cs file. So this is all about the middleware. How ASP.NET Core middleware is different from HTTP module. Now in ASP.NET Web Forms and MVC, if you remember, there were HTTP modules, okay? If you are already aware about them, then that's great. Even if you are not, then no problem, now you will know it, okay? If you see this diagram, HTTP modules are the part of the request pipelines only, okay? So HTTP modules are nothing else, but they are almost like middlewares only. In .NET Core, instead of HTTP modules, we have middlewares as the replacement, okay? So the main difference between them is HTTP modules are registered in the web.config file or global.asx file in the ASP.NET framework, while a middleware is registered via configure method inside the startup class. Short and simple difference. What is request delegate in .NET Core? The simple answer is request delegate are used to build the request pipelines. This is the diagram of request pipeline. Here you can see a HTTP request is coming, and then inside the configure method it is visiting three middlewares, okay? Middleware 1, 2 and 3. This we call a request pipeline, okay? This is request pipeline is nothing, it's a virtual pipeline which contains the middlewares only. Now the question is, how this request is going from one middleware to another middleware and finally stopping at the last middleware. How it is working? That is managed by the request delegates. The next important point about request delegate is request delegates are configured using run, map and use extension methods. In the upcoming question, we will see how this run, map and use methods work in the request pipeline. What are run, use and map methods? Very important question. Let's start with the use method, okay? Here inside the configure method, first we are calling the use method and then run method. Now if you see the output, both lines are printed from both these methods, right? That means after executing the use method, the next run method is also executed. So the purpose of use method is to run the method first and then pass the control to the next method in the request pipeline. That's why both executed. So the definition of use method is for any request, Use method will execute the middleware component and then pass the execution to the next middleware component. Okay. If you remember the default configure methods provided by .NET Core, here you can see we have use static files, use routing, use authorization, like prefix with use, because they run and then they send the execution or control to the next use routing, use authorization, like this. So why they are this is the explanation of the use method. Now the next method is run method. Now here see the example code. Okay, here inside the configure method we are calling first run method and then again run method. So now if you will see the output, only the first line is printed and second line is not. The reason being is the run will immediately terminate the execution after the first method, and it will not pass the control to the second method or component or middleware. That's the reason why we put run method at the end of the request pipeline like this. Now because after that there is nothing going to be executed, that's why. The definition is run method will execute the middleware component and then terminate the execution. It should be placed at the end of the pipeline. Okay. Last one is map method. Here is the code of map method, and it says if the request URL has something like auth in it, then go inside, otherwise not. For example, if this is the URL and it has auth in it, right, then you will get this output because it will pass the control inside. The map method will, and the run method will be executed and the string is printed in the output. But if in the URL, if there is no auth string like this, then map method will not allow the execution to go inside, and therefore inside the method will not be executed, and in that case there will be nothing is printed here. Okay, so this is map. The definition is the map method is used to map a specific request URL path to the middleware component. Great, I think now you know all of three of them, run, use and map methods, right? What are the types of hosting in ASP.NET Core, or what is in-process and out-of-process hosting? Before understanding Kestrel, one must understand in-process and out-of-process hosting. Okay, let's try to understand with the help of a diagram. Here you can see in-process hosting is related to IIS. Okay, in this only one web server is used for hosting, and that is IIS. And the name of the process is w3wp.exe. The other type of hosting is out-of-process hosting, and it is of two types. In first, the ASP.NET Core uses Kestrel as the hosting server. And in second, IIS and Kestrel both are used, where Kestrel is used as the reverse proxy configuration. Okay, so one has to set the values of this ASP.NET Core hosting model property to in-process in the project file. Okay, let's summarize the differences between in-process and out-of-processing quickly. In in-process hosting, process name is w3wp.exe, and out-of-process hosting, the process name is .net.exe. In-process hosting, only one web server is used, and that is IIS. In out-of-process hosting, two web servers can be used. One will Kestrel and other can be anyone like IIS, Nginx, Apache, any other. Now in the upcoming question, we will see some more details about Kestrel. What is Kestrel? What is the difference between Kestrel and IIS? Let's see the definition of Kestrel first. Kestrel is a cross-platform web server for ASP.NET Core. Second thing is, it is a type of out-of-process hosting. Okay, meaning Kestrel can be used alone or it can be used with IIS or Nginx web servers. Now let's see the differences between a Kestrel and IIS. First, Kestrel is a lightweight web server used for hosting, whereas IIS is a complete web server which is also used for hosting, but it can handle complex operation and it is configurable also. Now here lightweight means some functionalities like load balancing are not available in Castrol, but yes, they are available in IIS. Second difference is Castrol is cross-platform and can be used with many other web servers like IIS, Nginx and Apache, okay? But IIS is not cross-platform and can only run in Windows only also. Next difference is Castrol is open source like .NET Core free to use, but IIS is not open source and that is not free to use. That's are the differences between the two.